Alright guys, what's up? Welcome back to another Relentless recap. Quick one here. So as you're tuning in, hit that thumbs up and of course grab your popcorn. Quick one, quick one, quick one. Rough day today for me, man. Rough day. Just couldn't get anything going. Red on two stocks. TGL, WIMI, two of the main stocks here today. And only small green on ZEO to help balance things out. So we're ending net red here, down 1,500 bucks. Not ideal, but also part of the deal, especially with a stock like WIMI where we gave it a good shot and just could not connect on the moves. This chart is very similar to a lot of the charts we traded yesterday, where we did do well. And the resumption trades, man, they can be hit or miss, high risk, high reward. So if we pull up E-Trade here and really zoom in on the 1 minute chart, you guys will get a better look at how the halt resumptions played out. So the first one and this uptrending move here, I did miss. That is a big factor here in this analysis and review. Now, granted, going up, we only had 38,000 shares of volume, but when the stock resumed, it opened up from a high of 523 all the way up at $6, dips to 540. The volume on this candle only 55,000, so I doubt I would have gotten involved here. This second candle, however, we have about 300,000 shares, and I think this is where for me I could have potentially capitalized. We had a pullback which was essentially a double bottom from 550, which then went up to $6 and then 640. So that was pretty significant. And then from there we had a low of 611 before ripping to 667. I think seeing the stock earlier in this area here could have potentially given us a chance to do much better in this move. So, a little disappointing to not capture these couple of candles. So when I was showing up, the stock is already essentially halted up right here. I think like 2 more seconds for it to pin, or it might have already been pinned. And so on resumption right here, we did have a bottoming wick. So RT, how did you not capitalize on this massive wick down and curl back up? So initially here, we're halted up at 667. We opened at 669, ripped to 715, and initially our first pullback came at 67. It's where I thought, we were stalling out a little bit. 67. I got in, bought, noticed it was coming down some more, so I kept it tight, and then I jumped back in around 37. The stock then ripped up to 50, but immediately came back down to 37. Did not like that, and so I stopped out here. And my fills weren't the best. I essentially got filled about 45. I stopped out mid-30s for another loss. So 2 losses back to back. And then on the third flush, which ended up being the real flush, all the way down at 610, 609 or 609 for the lows of this candle here, plus or minus. But the halt down was right below the whole dollar, I believe at 90 or 89. So one more tick of red on the tape, and we would have been done for the halt down. So I avoided jumping in here, but turns out this was the place to be jumping in, because the stock then ripped up $1 a share. And in this rip up, we didn't have not one hesitation for me to say, okay, I'm going to chase the move. So, losses on the way down. Oh, didn't take this entry, thought it was a little too high risk. And then missed the move back up. Brutal. 900 bucks. Brutal, brutal, brutal. Right here, we didn't really hold up too well in the consolidation. One quick pullback here, but then collapsed. Brutal. That was WIMI. And actually, if I use the 10-second chart here, hold on, give me a quick sec to pull it up. I'm going to pull up the 10-second chart. That way, you guys can get a better look. So if we're to come back to 10 a.m., So this right here, let's see.
IOTR.
Okay, 615, highs of 640. Yeah, so essentially, this was the resumption candlestick here where we had the low of about 6 and then the rip back up. So 609, 607, and then all the way. Actually, and I forgot to come down. Jeez. I'm getting old here. It's the problem. My brain is in the slums. Okay. Okay, much better, much better. I'm like, okay, for a second. So here's the low of 607. All right, these are the two candles I got caught on. And then again, just hardly any hesitation. So from 37, there was a low of what 20. What's the higher? 40 and 30. So a small hesitation. I think this is probably the last place I could have gotten in, but just a little disappointing. Missing the entire move back up, and then again this area here a little trickier to get. And from there it was just the bottom of the 7 Cs. The bottom of the 7 Cs. Okay, that was WIMI. Moving on to TGL. TGL. Shout out to Lucas. I saw he did really well on this one. It's 2 days in a row now where I'm looking at a stock early and having trouble to capitalize on the first couple of 1 minute candles to make the new high. Right here, this is ideal for what we like to see. High of 64 and then high of 82. This is ideal. Typically I want to be in here as the 1 minute candle makes a new high. Sometimes the hold time could be the issue where I'm in, but we're not really seeing anything within that 10, 15, 20 seconds that follows, and I could end up getting back out flat before the stock goes. That in itself sometimes could be a problem, but nevertheless, it did push up to 82. We had a low of 75 and then a rip to 405 before a much bigger pullback down to 66. This pullback here I did miss. I thought this was one of the bigger opportunities. So after getting up to 420, let's double check that, 405, after getting up to 405, I just got caught off guard with how big the dip was. And that was a bit of an issue for me. So I got long at 80. The low ended up being 66. I stopped out at 78 on the bounce back up. I didn't sell right away because the stock was just so bullish. You know, Sometimes I could fall victim to this, which is that I give the dip too much time, thinking that we're so bullish that we shouldn't really be dropping it all, or at least not too much. So I'm in at 80, which is like right here, and this thing went down to a low of 66. I missed the move back up. So similar to WIMI where I missed the massive move back up. Pretty tough to miss that type of trade there. There's a quick pullback here to 80 before it really takes off to a high of over 430. Let's see, 440 actually. So this I think was the best opportunity to get green on the day. This area here, especially if you could have caught the 1 minute candle to make the new high, be able to, for me, I think if I was on the other side to just get out, get back in, I probably could have captured this dip. But the risk a lot of the times is you can sell a position to recycle and get in lower, but sometimes the stock in the moment of you selling can curl up so quickly that you're essentially left, missing the train, missing the move. Hey, I'm in at 80, I want to get 74. Maybe it comes to 77 and instantly back up to 87, and then you're not in at all, and then the move is going without you, right? So, all part of what it is that we do here. So a little disappointing to miss this, not capture this move here, let's say. Other than that, just just trending down. Not much else from this one. We did have this area here where some people might have, the part, I think bottoming wicks like this might have been key for a lot of traders who did well, perhaps capturing some of these bigger flushes and riding the move back up. I mean, look at this, right? Look at this massive high point to this massive low. If you're in down here and you're patient to watch the curl, the bear flag makes the new high here. I mean, a trade like this, higher lows, it did have the higher lows going for it. We had this bit of a apex point right here, and then it rips up. And so these are the areas where I think the people who did well on the stock the first few minutes, and then a couple of these key areas like this. And it kind of ranks and repeat. These are the type of things I'm not noticing though, because I'm looking for the next hot stock, WIMI, whatever else is moving, trending upwards, and holding up the pullback, going higher, holding up the pullback, going higher. So when this stock like this comes and it's just sideways, or down, I'm not watching it closely enough to even see this pattern happening to say, hey, this looks good. Higher lows, we have a consolidation at the end of the day here. Back to basics. Are we going to go up or are we going to go down? So, it's one part of the difficult thing about going from stock to stock, because this was clean, right? I mean, higher lows. You got a clear high point, or if you put it a little higher here. Fact of the matter is, the stock broke out, gave a good move, bit of a pullback here, double bottom, and it then ranks and repeat 1 minute candle to make the new high. These type of candles gave some big follow through. But yeah, that's kind of where I took the bigger losses. And then for ZEO, the small gain, ZEO. In this one, we had a red to green over 220, pushing up to 238. I think right here is where I basically made the bulk of the gains in this push, and then trading this consolidation nicely. I did really well in this consolidation, capturing the lower levels, selling a little higher into the push, trading the breakout right here nicely. But the problem was getting caught a little bit on the backside. Watching this new consolidation for it to rank and repeat and go higher again, eventually broke down, and this is what we call lack of follow through, because we have big bullish volume going up, big bullish volume, even way more volume that we had on this candle here, yet the stock isn't able to continue into the next level, $3. So for me, I'm still being aggressive here, and then I get caught coming down in these kind of candlesticks. But that was pretty much the day. I stuck around a little bit looking at the scans, but just nothing came. So I'm like, hey, let's just shut it down and do the recap and call it a day. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Hit the thumbs up. Remember to check out the links down below. Bit of a slow day, but all part of the deal. The month going slow and steady. I think we're probably up 10K on the month. Definitely not the best month. Better than last month for sure, where we had the first 2 weeks pretty slow. We had the team house week, and then we also then the last week and a half, 2 weeks, we tried adjusting things a little bit, which didn't work at all. So we kind of just back to basics. But we definitely want to try to keep the red days here to a minimum. Again, the accuracy, the biggest problem. A stock like WIMI, where we could have really got some gains going, just got nothing out of that one. So yeah, but remember our disclaimer. Remember that day trading is risky. Remember that copy trading does not work on the live streams. Remember to utilize small size. And lastly, I do not invest for my subscribers, so be careful of fake accounts. I will never message you first. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe. Tomorrow on the live stream again at 9:15 a.m. And if I sound weird, it's because I have these aligners in, and it sounds like I have a little bit of a lisp. It is annoying, but they say no pain, no gain. All right. So with that being said, take care, stay safe, stay green. It's been RT, and I am signing out.